Zettel für die lange Weg. 2 Flaschen Whisky für die Zeit. Und ich date gern habe, du bist dabei. Maria geht, fahrt mal weg, ist weit. Wann ich geh, ich werd dir fehlen, wann ich geh. Du sehst nicht, was ich mach, du sehst nicht, wie ich lach. Ich werd dir fehlen, du watsch sehen. Hab kriegt mein Zettel für den langen Weg. Du schönste, als mir finden kann. Es hat Maria und Dale ganz wunderbar. Hass ich dir den weißen Dank. Wann ich geh, ich werd dir fehlen, wann ich geh. Du sehst nicht, was ich mach, du sehst nicht, wie ich lach. Ich werd dir fehlen, du watch sehen.
Well, gute Abend, liebe Leute. Good evening, dear friends. We are back at it. Another month, another episode of PA Dutch Live. Welcome to the February 2025 edition. We got a great show planned for you tonight. In the green room is our good friend Candace Perry. We'll be bringing her on here in a couple minutes. If this is your first time joining us, welcome, as we say in Pennsylvania Dutch. Welcome. If this is your 35th or 38th or 45th time joining us, welcome as well, of course. And I hope that you are all doing fine wherever you are. If you are in Pennsylvania like I am, you're probably cold because it's it's been cold. Let's just say that. But it's winter. I expect it, of course. And for those of you that followed along, of course, the groundhog did predict this. So it is what it is. Right. If you're joining us on the Facebook page, please, in the comment section, let me know where you're joining us from. If you're watching along on the YouTube channel, I don't know better. Put in the comment section where you're from too, and we'll get some shout outs going right off the bat. We got you and Gregory joining us from we don't know where, but he says, hey, we'll take that. Our good friend Seth Moak says, howdy Gouda Ovit. Good evening to you, Seth. We have Randy Howard. Hey, y'all from New Berlin, Texas, Guadalupe County, formerly, though, from New Berlinville, Pennsylvania, Berks County. That's great. KC says, hello, finally getting to watch this live. Well, I'm glad that you're able to watch this live as well. Hunter is joining us, says, hey, Doug, hope you're well. Playing a show in Downingtown tonight. That's good. Have a great show tonight, Hunter. Muck Boyer says, good evening, Gouda Ovid. Our good friend, Ewan Gregory says, hey, I am your German teacher, Ewan. Thanks for the shout out. Erica Gustafson joined us saying, hey, Doug, good to see you. Good to see you, too. Looking forward to hopefully seeing you in person sometime in the near future at one of our many Pennsylvania Dutch events. Our good friend Blohbariyer, good Ovid, ich bin do in Nazareth. Well, hey, Blohbariyer, you're going to get a shout out later on the show. Just throwing that out there, letting you know. Krista Moyer says, hello, Kitty Moyer in snowy Midlothian, Virginia. Yeah, the snow all went south of Pennsylvania, so you got it all, Kitty. Have fun with that. Norman Jung staying up past midnight. Steinbach am Glan delegation present and accounted for. Thank you, Norman, for staying up after midnight over there in beautiful Deutschland and joining us as you always do. Our good friend Dolly Moyer joins us every month from Fleetwood in beautiful Berks County. Brigitte, hi from Philly. Hey, Brigitte, I hope, just like Erica said, hope to see you soon in the near future. Rachel, our good friend, the Wispessers, are joining us as well from Berks County. Lenora Holt, hello from Lakeland, Florida. And the last one down here, we got Andy. Hello, Doug Blessings von der Palz aus Landau. Boy, we got the Germans staying up after midnight. This is wonderful. Andy, good to see you virtually. Our good friend and my distant cousin, Carol, good evening from Chile, but beautiful downtown Birdville. This is not your first time watching. You are absolutely right. And our good friend Daniel Kopp is joining us. Schöne Grüße aus Philly. Doug, hey, Philly was quite the place here the last couple of weeks with everything going on. That's awesome. Hope you enjoyed and survived all of the craziness that was going on post-Super Bowl in the city of brotherly love. Se habla Deutsch, Germano, Gringo lot, teach 3 tongues idiomatically. That's a long name. Paul A. Smith aus Austin, Texas. Großvater und Urgroßvater sind im Sagertown Borough, Pennsylvania, geboren. Well, that's wonderful. Thanks for joining us tonight. We got Don Moyer joining us also from Midlothian, Virginia. Boy, we got a lot of people joining us. That's great. I always love to have and hear from where all you guys are joining us from. Let's get into the meat and potatoes here tonight. I got a couple announcements for you, as I usually do each month, some news and some other things to share with you before we get to our guest. But if you hadn't heard and you didn't see me posting about this, tonight's special guest is Candace Perry. She gets the award for the most appearances on PA Dutch Live. She's like the Ed McMahon if I'm Johnny Carson after a while. She's going to be sitting on the couch there helping me interview all these people after a while. But she's going to be talking about fashion, PA Dutch style. She sent me the images ahead of time, guys. Wait till I can't wait to hear this presentation. It's going to be awesome. Of course, we'll also have a poem coming up, as we always do, and a song. We got, someone else said something here. Hey, Derek says, hello from Windgap. Wie bist du? Hey, ich bin all recht, Derek. Ich hoffe, dass du all recht bist. And Doug Docky says, burr. That's an apropos phrase for tonight. Hey, tonight's show is brought to us by the good people at the Schwenkfelder Library and Heritage Center. If you own a business or an organization that would like to sponsor the show for a month, just let me know. Throw me a shout out and we'll give you a shout out. But our shout out tonight goes to the Schwenkfelders. We'll find out why. Maybe because our guest has something to do with that place. I don't know. We'll see. And a couple announcements. There's not a lot necessarily going on right now this time of year. However, as I've been announcing on my social media feeds, if you've always wanted to learn Pennsylvania Dutch and you don't have the ability, you don't live near anybody that speaks the language, or you've moved away from southeastern Pennsylvania, well, I've been saying this and they're continuing it thanks to the good people at the Berks History Center. Online Zoom versions of Pennsylvania Dutch classes are being offered. This is your last week to sign up for them. There's a beginner, an intermediate, and an advanced level. I know the instructors that teach these classes, they do an excellent job. Sign up through the Berks History Center's website or their Facebook page. You can find all their information if you just search for Berks History Center, and then they'll have a special Pennsylvania Dutch tab for you to check out. Something else for your calendars, dear friends, is our good friends at the Pennsylvania German Cultural Heritage Center at Kutztown University will be hosting their annual Easter on the Farm, and that is on Saturday, April the 12th. It is a free event, free parking, free entrance. There is music throughout the day. There are demonstrations. There are artisans there. It's a great event. Take your kids to, just go yourself. Take your grandkids to. They are looking for crafters, demonstrators, and volunteers. So if that's something you think you would like to be able to help out with, of course, contact the Heritage Center. But if you just want to go visit and see the event, which I highly recommend, April 12th will be your day to check that out. Last Friday was Valentine's Day, and for those of you that follow my social media feed, you probably saw me post this. I posted the question, what's the most PA Dutch thing you can ask or you can say when asking someone to be your Valentine? And I said the best answers are going to get a shout out on the live stream, and I'm about to share some of these with you. But real quick, Donna Demack says the Zooloch in Iona on March 15th. Yeah, I'll be announcing. I didn't see a latest update or a poster on that, Dana. Dana. My apologies, but if you send me the latest poster or flyer for the Zooloch, that's another great free event in Pennsylvania Dutch country. I'll share it on my social media feeds throughout the coming weeks. So here are some of the best results. And we got tons of answers to this question on both Facebook and on Instagram. And I just want to share a couple of them because I think some of these made me absolutely laugh out loud. I'll just read through a couple of them. Elbadrit said, I know how to make pot pie the correct way. That's a good way to ask somebody out. Robert Molesky said, this is a great one. You must be Dandelion because I want to cover you with hot bacon dressing. That's great. Flounda 496. Now, I don't know if anybody outside of Berks County gets this reference, but do you want to take a trip to Nysteckersville? That's all I'm going to say. It's not necessarily a PG question, but if you speak Pennsylvania Dutch, that's really funny. We'll just leave it at that. Always on Adventure says, you make the bottom of my shoe fly pie wet. That is the official winner. That was my favorite one out of all the ones turned in. Gerd Dorr says, can we fungus some Mika together? That's a great one too. Oh, these were so good. I got a couple more to share with you guys. Carol, our good friend, says, I'll give you my potato filling if you give me your heart. That's a good one, Carol. Brandon Burke says, want to come to my place and out in the lights. That's another really good one. Harry Hand says, cheese and crackers ain't that nice. Don't you want to drink some wine with me tonight? Oh, really good stuff. A couple more here. They're just too good. Candace Perry, our guest tonight, said, I'd even share my ring bologna with you. That's a good one. That was a good one, Candace. Michael Chris says, make some of your pot pie hot and I'll give you some schnitzel after. Whoa, well, we're getting a little hot in here tonight, boys and girls. And our last ones I want to share with you. This is the most pragmatic. I have scrapple at the house. maybe that's all you need, depending on the special someone across the table from you. Lori says, I love you more than Fosnox and ring bologna. That's a lot. That'd be a lot. Mary says, Navi, go, huh? That's a good one too. And Ashley Dawn, this is a really good one too. This was my runner-up. Let's make whoopie pies. That's a good one. So thanks guys. These were great. It really made me laugh. I'm sure that those of you that followed along will made you bring some chuckles to you this cold and wintry time of year. Our hee-haw style salute this month goes to the town of Souderton in beautiful Montgomery County, PA, founded in 1847. The latest I could find population-wise, 7,246. There was a very active groundhog lodge in Souderton for years. I don't know if they're still active or not. I mean, Montgomery County and that southern Bucks County region had a lot of Pennsylvania Dutch. It's changed a little bit over the years, but I wanted to give a shout out, salute to Souderton, Montgomery County, Pennsylvania. All right, dear friends, it's time to bring on our guest, the one and only Candace Perry, as I mentioned. And if you are a friend of the show, you know that she has been on so many times, and I get so many people saying, bring her back, bring her back. And I have to listen to my people, and I always want to bring her back too. So let me pull this out and welcome Candace. Hello, Candace. So good to see you again.
Oh, hello. Great to be here with everyone.
It is great to have you here. So honestly, I was watching your face while I was reading some of those Valentine things. They brought a couple chuckles to you, didn't they?
Oh, yes. I can't. I liked other ones that you didn't necessarily pick as your first and second, but they were they were hysterical.
No,
yeah.
There were some really good ones. It was hard to pick like one or two, but yeah, that's why I shared so many. I just thought they were the creativity among us. Yeah. It's just wonderful, just absolutely wonderful. All right, so you've been on many times, as a lot of the people watching the show know. We've had you on. You've talked about the Schwenkfelders. You are the curator at the Schwenkfelder Museum and Library. Mm-hmm. We've talked about them before. You've talked about Pennsylvania Dutch on Broadway. You also, the last time, and that was a great one. Every time you've been on has been great. The last time we had you on, you introduced us to the history of these all-you-can-eat buffets and this all-you-can-eat style of eating that the Pennsylvania Dutch kind of became somewhat famous for now with places like Shady Maple, but we concentrated on the Charlottesville Hotel and Hague's Hotel in Charlottesville, and that was a great presentation. And after that one was over, I said, Candace, anytime you want to come back, just let me know. And Candace, of course, being Candace, wrote me an email not too much longer and said, hey, I got a topic for you. Let's book it. So we got you on tonight to talk about another topic, but Pennsylvania Dutch related, of course, fashion PA Dutch style. So the question always is that I like to know, how did you stumble into this topic this time?
Well, okay. This one has a bit complicated story. I was actually doing a research for a lot of these things come out of longer presentations. This one is included, and just like the Charlottesville Hotel. So this one came out of a presentation I was working on that was called, My Friend Went to Lancaster County and All I Got Was a Stupid Dish Towel. Yeah, it takes a minute, I guess. So, and that was about Pennsylvania Dutch inspired design motifs in the 20th century, of which there were copious amounts that extended from almost high-end design down to kitsch, which is where the dish towels come in, of course. So when I was doing research for that, I stumbled across more discussions of how these the silhouettes of clothing, that not as much, but certainly design motifs among the Pennsylvania Dutch became incorporated into clothing really up until about 1970. So it's really strange in some ways, but you really think, how could an Amish apron become incorporated into 20th century fashion? Well, I will show you one.
Yeah, and just real quick before we look at some of these images you share and hear this story, I think almost everybody probably watching this show has the familiarity of having that their grandparents had it at their house, that Pennsylvania Dutch style tea towel or apron, or I mean, those are things that I think, especially as a kid that I was growing up in the 80s, those were just givens. Like, didn't every house have those, or the calendar towels and had the Pennsylvania Dutch tulips and distelfink on. So yeah, I mean, I'm sure most of us watching tonight have that vision in our minds or those memories. But like, I can't wait for you to talk about these clothing, because as you shared these images with me, this was something that totally I knew nothing about. So without further ado, here we go, people. Take
Yeah.
away, Candace.
Now, this first image, this is from 1940, the lady on your left. And she was a designer by the name of Dorothy Cox, who in the 1940s designed for a company called McMullen Fashions. So on the right, then, you see a pair of dresses called the Bucks County Prints by McMullen. But what Dorothy Cox did was come down to Pennsylvania and do research on all of these design motifs. And as I talked about in previous episodes of Pennsylvania Dutch Live, how these things sort of came to mind to people outside of the culture, how tourism and some books like totally left my mind, but how they inspired people from outside the culture to come and use the designs of the Pennsylvania Dutch in various ways. So Dorothy Cox on the left is wearing her Amish apron inspired dress, which probably to most women at least will just look like a pinafore, or it just looks like an apron, but it's supposed to be directly inspired by an Amish apron. And then in the drawing on the right, the ad for these garments, you'll see the woman on the right is supposed to be wearing that same pinafore over her dress. And the dresses were made in prints, cotton prints, that were inspired by different Pennsylvania Dutch designs. Usually they seem to be mostly small floral prints, what I can see. I haven't been able to find an example of one of these dresses that would be amazing, but they are now, how old are they? 85 years old. So the likelihood of this surviving is when they look like everyday dresses is probably pretty slim. Okay, next one.
So now, just a quick question then. So this company McMullen, where were these dresses sold? Like, where?
Well, the company McMullen was out of New York City,
but they weren't a store. They were just a clothing producer.
They were a clothing manufacturer in New York City.
Okay.
That distributed nationwide. I'm sorry, I didn't mark down where this ad came from, but I'm pretty sure it's not in Pennsylvania.
Right. I was just curious, like, where was the market for this clothing?
Where was the market? It was nationwide.
Yeah. It wasn't targeting us. It was targeting
it wasn't
other
at all.
People. Yeah.
Sometimes, as you'll see in some of the later slides, there were some from Allentown and Philadelphia area. But generally it seemed to be the appreciation was more outside of the culture. And these were probably not really inexpensive garments either. I think they were probably targeted toward a certain economic class of person. They weren't cheap. So, yeah. Okay, so here we have two rather extraordinary dresses, and the one on the left is really what got me started on this topic. I wanted to in Adrian, Pennsylvania Dutch dress. And you will see a better example of this, but I couldn't use that photo because it's copyrighted. But anyway, maybe some of you have heard of Adrian. He was a very famous costume designer of the 40s and possibly a little bit before. And he designed for Hollywood. So if you watch old movies, you may see that name. So-and-so's Gowns by Adrian. So this is who we were talking about. But he had this very unusual design impulse, I guess, or inspiration to use really unlikely kinds of subject matter in his evening gowns. So on the left, you see that gorgeous piece, which is actually the quilt is the skirt is quilted and then embroidered over. And it probably reminds you of bedspreads that you had in your family's home. Because those are very popular in that time period. It was sort of that neo-colonial Pennsylvania Dutch look that would have been very, very popular. And then on the right, you will see one with sort of peasant figures, a man and a woman, embroidered on the bodice of the dress. And I hope I don't lose. I'm having some issue here, maybe with my computer, but we'll go on and see what happens.
Well, yeah, we'll keep going.
Okay. And that too by Adrian.
You know, Candace, we don't hear you right now. I'm sorry. Kansas, we don't hear you, Candace. As she's hopefully trying to figure this
Okay.
these things happen, of course. There we go. Oh, there you are. Yeah. Well, you were.
Can you hear me?
Yes, now I can.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I can't hear you. That's the problem.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Oh, no.
Do you want to go to the next slide?
Sure, absolutely. Now we lost her again. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, no. We lost you again, Candace. I'm sorry.
Can you hear me?
Now I can.
What's going on?
I don't know.
Okay, so here is the bodice to this dress by Adrian, the embroidered bodice with the peasant figures. Now, they call this Pennsylvania Dutch inspired, although I'm not completely sure, but it certainly does look like some of the design motifs of the Pennsylvania Dutch. Okay.
All right.
Now, this is a terrific one that I want you to have a look at. This is from about 1950, and this is an ad for Hess's in Allentown, which tells us that these dresses were inspired by designs in Frances Lichten's book, Folk Art of Rural Pennsylvania. I don't know if you're all familiar with Frances Lichten, but she was working in, I believe, a curatorial department in the Philadelphia Museum of Art, and wrote this amazing book on folk art of the Pennsylvania Dutch specifically. She was also the partner of the amazing artist and author, Catherine Milhouse. If you are familiar with her work, certainly her books, which include The Egg Tree and Apollonia's Valentine, and also her WPA posters from the 1930s. So Frances and Catherine were partners. But so these dresses were all inspired by these designs that were taken out of this book. And one of them is hex signs, and the other design is cookie cutters, which must have been so charming. I wish still existed, because they must have been absolutely precious. The dresses in the advertisements look wonderful. So
yeah, I'm sure they were bright. I'm sure they were bright colors too. Just
yes,
imagining.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the cookie cutter, I would love. Oh, geez, I would love if that survived. Actually, if this is, I'm going to put in a plug. If anybody has any Pennsylvania Dutch textiles from the mid 20th century that they're looking to rehome, please think of the Schwenkfelder. I've started a collection of this material because I don't think anyone else is collecting it. So I am now going to be the dish towel repository, I guess, and tablecloth, and anything else that comes our way. If you do have garments that are made out of some of this fabric, because you could buy fabric too, just yardage off the bowl. Okay, so next one. And here we have another one. This is from Wanamaker's. So that was a pretty classy establishment, if I should say so myself. And these dresses being sold at Wanamaker's, the same ones. And this one actually had the name of the company that made them, but now I'm sorry, I've forgotten what it is and the print's too small. But it's actually a company that seemed to specialize in these kinds of printed garments, because I found the company also made things inspired by Southwestern motifs. So I think that across the board, these sort of novelty prints, if you saw these or the Southwestern or the things that Adrian did with the animals on them, I think they were very popular in this time period, in the early 50s or throughout the 50s. Okay. Now, this one is terrific. And I wish I had a better photo. This skirt, which has a large tulip motif on it, they call it a hex sign motif, but it's really just sort of a typical Pennsylvania Dutch tulips, was made by Julie Lynn Charlot. I suppose that's how her name was pronounced, of California. Now, Julie Lynn Charlot has an extraordinary claim to fame. And actually, she just died last year. I think she was 102. She just died last year. This is from the 1950s, this skirt. And probably some of you who remember the 50s or have nostalgia for the 50s know what kind of skirt this was. Julie Lynn Charlot actually invented this type of skirt. When she needed to go to a Christmas party, she was a Hollywood starlet. And she needed to go to a Christmas party and she didn't have an appropriate garment and she didn't have any money. So she had a large piece of felt. So she cut a huge circle out and decorated it with Christmas trees, and it became the first known circle skirt. And those then became very well known as poodle skirts. So this is the Pennsylvania Dutch version of the poodle skirt. And if you like Grease or liked what other show had poodle skirts in it? Well, Grease,
Happy Days, I'm sure, and
yeah, Happy Days, all those shows, and they were made of felt. Probably wool felt, because I don't think they would have had synthetic felt in the 50s. So heavy wool felt, and that's what gave it its volume. It really helped with the volume, and then had these motifs, whether it be poodles or she made dachshunds or anything your heart desired could be put on a circle skirt, and wow, wouldn't this be wonderful to come across?
I would love to see a color version of this.
Yeah.
Just to see what, if I'm imagining it's green as a base, but who knows? I mean, who knows? It could have been anything, really. That is really cool.
She says it's red, white, and green felt. So, but that's hard to know what color it really was.
Yeah, right.
But, what was I going to say about it? Well, she just became very well known, not for her being a starlet, but for her circle skirt designs.
Yeah.
Okay. Now here we get a little more up to date. Some of you probably remember these kinds of garments. I certainly remember those shorts. I don't think I wanted to wear them, but I shouldn't have been wearing them. But anyway, so this is your basic hex sign tank top. And these were widely advertised. This is Adler's, was in Prairie Village. I'm not sure where Prairie Village was exactly, but I have a feeling it was somewhere on the prairie. So this could have, Adler's store could have been maybe somewhere in the Midwest, Kansas or Oklahoma or somewhere like that. But I just think this is amazing that they were using these design motifs. And this is probably late 60s, mid to late 60s. So, and this seemed to be really the last gasp of this kind of thing that wasn't part of that sort of when we all started doing country stuff in the mid to late 70s and 80s, where everyone had a goose in their kitchen or some such thing. Well, this was real designers incorporating these motifs into their garments, and not just people being cutesy, or having a decorated sweatshirt or something like that. Okay, I think the next ones are my most fascinating.
These are crazy.
Okay. Sometime in the 1940s, the millinery, as we would call it, hat designers decided to make what they called Mennonite bonnets for fashionable women. I don't think I know of a Mennonite who ever wore such a bonnet as this. I don't know. Maybe some of you have more insight. It looks more like some sort of religious garb, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
it
I mean,
does. It
religious, when
does.
I say that, I mean like a nun or something like that.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
it does say, as you can read it, fashioned after the Mennonite cap. So I don't know what they were getting at in this particular one. This one is by far the most dramatic. And I don't know. I just don't know. If anyone has any thoughts on it.
This new bonnet is finding its way into many feminine wardrobes. Like I just can't believe that many people would have gone out and purchased it. But
Right, and this
know.
one being such an extreme example too.
Yeah,
That's what
yeah.
I think. But so here's a collection of the other ones, which actually do look more along the lines of a Mennonite bonnet. The one at the top on the far left, definitely so. The one with the netting on the in the center, that one definitely. And you can see, you for those of us here in Pennsylvania, or who've ever lived in Pennsylvania, you probably can tell that these department stores or boutiques or whatever they were are certainly not in Pennsylvania. I mean, I don't recognize the names, and I've lived anywhere from the Philadelphia area to Pittsburgh, so I don't recognize them. And then on the right hand side, with the odd poof on top of it, that would be the one at the bottom with the poof. I some of them I understand. Some of them sort of make sense. And drawing on my interest in Broadway, the one on the left at the top actually looks like the hat they often put on Sarah Brown in Guys and Dolls. If
Yeah,
you've ever
you absolutely right.
Production of Sarah Brown, it's sort of this. It's a hat for every pious person, I suppose.
Right.
So, and there we have this. This went on for quite a bit. So this, I think, was the late 50s. This one, and maybe you can read it better, but I'm not sure. I think the one in the center, or the one on the left center, is the Mennonite bonnet. They all look kind of the same, but the one on the top certainly looks like some kind of a helmet. So I think it's the ones in the middle that were more the Mennonite bonnet, and then adding your veil. So you'd have that come hither Mennonite look, I suppose.
Candace, I mean, we looked at all these images, and again, just stuff that I didn't know existed. Thank you so much for sharing this. But I did have one question. I'm thinking about this. So you said that, around the 70s is late 60s is kind of when this went out of fashion.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Why? And I don't know. Is that also around the same time that the tablecloths and the tea towels and that stuff went out of fashion as well? Or and why do you think they did stop doing this, in your opinion?
I think that the tea towels went on for a lot longer, because they're even around today, aren't they? To some extent.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, I think those tablecloths, though, that a lot of people love, and now they're becoming increasingly expensive, especially if you can get one that's not worn. The lovely Pennsylvania Dutch tablecloths. I just think that the taste sort of, especially the printed things, maybe the taste sort of left those small prints that you saw on a lot of the garments, and went into also different kinds of fabrics. And I don't know, that's not a very good reason, but
no, but well, I think it is easy to say that tastes change, and I think that'll stop things quickly.
I think taste, it was definitely a taste thing. And I remember my mother had a skirt that I always thought looked like little hex signs, and she wasn't Pennsylvania Dutch, but she had a skirt in the mid 60s that reminded me of this kind of thing. And it wasn't something that would have remained fashionable to wear past that time period. So I think that the taste changed, and the women had moved on, and we had hippies, and we had disco, and I don't know. So far, I haven't found disco Pennsylvania Dutch, but that I would.
Well,
love.
You start finding that stuff, then we're going to have a lot of fun. I think we start. But I'll ask you one last one question I was thinking of while you were giving this presentation. One term that we hear thrown around a lot these days is cultural appropriation.
Oh.
What's your take on that concept in regards to like this? Here was our imagery,
Yeah.
our art being taken. And what do you think? I don't know. What's your take on
I don't
that?
know. I've thought a lot about that, and not so much in this clothing because it's such a small niche, but
Yeah.
really in some of the higher end designing that they did. There is a company called that was called Laverne Originals, and it was very high end design coming out of New York City. It was a design company, and they also designed mid-century modern furniture. And they designed an actually fabulous print with Pennsylvania Dutch motifs on it that I was able to purchase some yardage of for the collection because it's very rare. It's very unusual stuff. And it was mostly used for interiors. I don't think it was used for clothing. It was like curtains or pillows or something like that in the home. And when I was looking at that, I thought, wow, they are making a lot of money off the Pennsylvania Dutch designs, these traditional designs. And I guess that it's hard to say that we were culturally appropriated.
Yeah, right.
I don't know. It's hard to say. I have to say, on behalf of the Schwenkfelder too, I just spent 2 days with the cultural heritage director of the Delaware Tribe of Indians from Oklahoma, and because so when you think about cultural appropriation, now that's someone that concerns me. That Jeremy Johnson is his name. That his people have long been appropriated, but it's hard to say. It's hard to say.
Yeah. I'm really surprised, given how industrious the Pennsylvania Dutch are, that if they heard that this type of fashion was selling, that there weren't people in Lancaster and Berks and Lebanon and Lehigh Valley that weren't making their own versions of this stuff and trying to sell it as well.
Well,
But
they certainly made the kitsch stuff.
yeah, they
So I
absolutely
can
did.
talk about that at some other time. Like
Ooh.
some of your probably definitely older listeners or younger listeners who are collectors might know of York Craft, which was made in York. That was a kitsch creator. Let's put it that way. They made so many very kitschy Pennsylvania Dutch items that actually sold to Pennsylvania Dutch people. They made a lot of like greeting cards, and you still can find them on Etsy and eBay, and probably in flea markets and antique malls today. All these cards they must have sold so many of them. Recipe cards that have all the funny sayings on them, and the Dutchified English. And so I think that it's just that they weren't doing this kind of thing. I think this was a more, I hate to say it, sophisticated approach to using design. So hence we're sort of being, we're funny about ourselves, I suppose, but not very sophisticated. I don't know.
Yeah. We'll leave it at that, Candace.
Yeah.
But once again, thank you so much for coming on and sharing another really interesting topic. I mean, who would have known about this? Oh, well, besides you. I never knew. It's just a wonderful, wonderful topic. And yes, of course, people, I know you're sitting here saying, Doug, get her back on again. We will, as soon as Candace says, hey, I got another topic for you. There's your homework, Candace. At some point down the road, you let me know and we'll get you back on. And if you want to do a whole show about kitsch, I'm sure that a lot of us would be here nodding our head the whole time as we're looking at images and talking about that story too, because I think that's something that so many Pennsylvania Dutch have a memory of or are familiar with, or maybe even have on their kitchen table today. Who knows?
And we can talk about TV cabinets that were made like painted blanket chests.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. Start making your notes. Start gathering your pictures up, Candace. All right. Well, Candace, thank you so much for coming on again and sharing your knowledge. It's always a pleasure to have you on, and I always have a smile when I'm talking to you, Candace. It's always great to talk with you. We'll talk soon again, Candace. Take care. Mach's good. Well, everybody, there you go. Another episode with Candace Perry, the one, the only. Listen, you got to take a trip down to the Schwenkfelder Museum and Library there in Montgomery County and take a day and go down. Their collection is wonderful. Most likely Candace will be there. Maybe you get a chance to talk to her. They have a collection of Pennsylvania Dutch hope chests. They have grandfather clocks. They have a full-size Conestoga wagon. And a lot of it's I'm just naming a couple things. It is a fabulous little museum to walk through. Beautiful stuff. So if you're ever in that area down around the Schwenkfelders, check them out online. You can get directions. It's not that hard to find. Definitely, it's worth a trip down to check out their museum. And give them a follow on Facebook. They do a lot of really great posts on their Instagram and Facebook pages that telling the history of all these artifacts and the history of our culture and our art and all of these aspects of our culture and history. So definitely give them a follow if you're on Facebook or Instagram. Great stuff. Well, we have it's come to the part of the show where I get to share some Pennsylvania Dutch language with you, and that is usually in the form of a poem. And this, of course, is February. February is the month of the groundhog. So we're going to go groundhog theme here for our poem and our song today. Our poem comes to us from my favorite Pennsylvania Dutch poet, John Birmelin, and we've highlighted his work often on the show because he's so, I'm going to say it's so damn good. You can't beat Birmelin. And this is his poem, Day is for Tax. Now, we have to remember that in Germany, where we brought our tradition of Groundhog Day over, before our immigrant ancestors got here to the United States, they celebrated this tradition of using a badger and seeing its shadow, because there weren't groundhogs. Groundhogs are a North American animal. But when our ancestors got here, there were no badgers in Pennsylvania. So we adopted the groundhog, of course, to take over this tradition of foretelling the length of winter or the early arrival of spring. So this is a kind of a poem that he wrote as a play on that. The Pennsylvania Dutch is on the left-hand side. The English is on the right, of course. You can follow along in whichever language you want. I'm going to read the Pennsylvania Dutch out loud so you can hear some Pennsylvania Dutch tonight and enjoy this short little poem, Die is voor Dax by John Birmelin. Day is voor Dax, und was is es so gescheit? Vom Wetter, du wees viel mehr wie die Leid. Schläft im Loch in der argste Kält und drubbelt sich weiter nix in der Welt. Im Hanning am Zwetter, du kommt mal raus. Versehne, wie es mit dem Wetter, du draus. Wann's drieb is, dann is auch der Winter vorbei. Sucht sich sei Fresser und geht nimm hinein. Doch warte mal, scheint bischli Sonn. So sehen das sei Schatter und schnuffelt mal rum. No geht zurück und schläft wieder ein. Die nächste 6 Wochen wird's winderisch sei. Good one. John Birmelin. He's great. And as you know, Punxsutawney Phil did see his shadow. So winter it is. Although some of the other famous groundhogs like Uni there in Lebanon County and Pagoda Patty and Oscar in Kutztown, they all had different, they didn't all agree with each other. So whichever groundhog you truly believe is the right one, just follow their forecast and we'll go with that. Every month, I also like to bring you guys a song of some kind, Pennsylvania Dutch themed. And we're turning to another really good friend of the channel, and that is Scott Reagan, who goes by the stage name Blohbariyer. And this is his song I want to play tonight for you called Grundsauloch. Let me do a couple clicks here so that I can make this all work for you. Scott is doing wonderful things. I just got a pop up here. I don't know what that means. Oh boy, I hope it works. Doing some wonderful things in music-wise in Pennsylvania Dutch. And we are going to have him as a future guest on the show. A little surprise for you later in the spring. But this is his song, Grundsauloch, which translates into groundhog hole or hole of the groundhog. I'm going to make this full screen. I'm going to pull myself out and you guys enjoy this song.
isolert och hade. Du kannst ruhig in dein bequeme Loch bleiben. Du kommst dir später in der Reihe. Die Welt kennt unfair, und alles zu nix wäre. Und mehr bleibt am Stumpfe als Warten. Wir sind just die Stoffleckli, eins der Brunnen, tief im dunklen Grundsauloch.
Well, our good friend Scott Reagan, the Blohbariyer, what a great, great song. All about that groundhog in that groundhog hole. Good, good stuff. Dear friends, we're getting towards the end of another episode. So let me just say thank you, of course, to Scott for sharing his talent with us. And he'll be performing at a couple different places down the road. If you follow me on social media, I'll, of course, let you know. If I know where he's playing, I will make sure all of you guys do too. Hey, now's your chance. I don't have the coolest clothing like what like what Candace was showing tonight. I'll have to get working on that. But we do have our own online shop where you can get your own PA Dutch themed merch. If you go to zazzle.com/PA Dutch 101, we have tons of different t-shirts and sweatshirts and tons of possibilities. You can get a t-shirt that says Ot and the Lion, or dun da da da, our brand new one based on the thanks to one of the comments on for Valentine's Day. You make the bottom of my shoe fly pie wet. You can get that t-shirt on our Zazzle shop, along with many other things. We have magnets, we have stickers. You can get a magnet for the back of your car that says I break for hex signs. That's a good one. We got ones that say I noch einmal, do no better. Definitely check out. They make great gifts. Like I said, t-shirts, sweatshirts, magnets, stickers, tons of different things there. Just check out the website. And of course, if you see something on there that you like, I don't know better, you gotta buy it and then share it with your friends, of course. Also, if you like what we're doing here and you'd like to financially support our endeavors here on PA Dutch 101 and also PA Dutch Live, you can buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/Doug Mainford. Or if you'd like to become a monthly patron, as little as $1 a month, you can sign up and become a patron, which is really easy to do on patreon.com/PA Dutch 101. And I'd like to give a quick shout out to some people that have recently donated or made contributions to the channel: Gary and Deanna Weaver, Nathan Ziegert, Seth Moak, Norman Young, Randy S., Ron Griffiths, Nicole Johns, David Hunsinger, Dolly Moyer, Gary Johansson, Gail Spilsbury, Bill Nace, Susan Thomas, Tanya, Big Z2, Leoso, Lenora Holt, Cayenne, Janukowski, and Thomas Finnegan. If you'd like to get your name read on a future show, throw a couple bucks my way at either of those two opportunities there, the Buy Me a Coffee or the Patreon thing, and you too can become an Unterstützer, a supporter of PA Dutch 101. Mark your calendars, dear friends. We got our next episode coming up on March 19th, exactly 1 month from today, where we will have our special guest. This time will be Alexander Ames. He'll be making his first appearance here on Pennsylvania Dutch Live. He wrote the book The Word in the Wilderness, which looks at the Fraktur specifically. We're going to talk a lot about Fraktur and early writings of the Pennsylvania Dutch in our art and culture, particularly from the 1700s, like stuff around the time of Effort a Cloister. It's a wonderful, wonderful book, and he's going to be sharing all that he learned while doing the research for the book, all about the word in the wilderness. It's going to be a really, really, really great show. So I'm looking forward to that. A couple people threw some comments up on here. I'd like to give them quick shout outs. Randy Howarder says, hey, thanks, Doug and Candace, for another PA Dutch Live. Thanks for joining us, of course. We have the Blohbariyer, Scott, Großdank, my friend. No, Großdank to you. Many thanks to you for all the good work that you're doing. Eric Gustin says, sounds great, Scott. It sure does, doesn't it, Erica? And Zach Musser says, Guten Tag, Herr Maidenford. That's me. Yeah, well, it's good to see you too, Zach, another one of my students. Okay, dear friends, it's the end of another month. It's the end of another episode of PA Dutch Live. I can't wait to be with you all on the 19th of March. Get yourself to Easter on the Farm. Sign up for those Dutch classes there through the Berks History Center. Go to a Groundhog Lodge event. They're all happening this time of year. I got about three of them coming up that I'll be speaking at. If you are in the greater Berks County region, definitely mark your calendar for Easter Monday, February, my gosh, April 21st. That's the Monday after Easter for the Berks County Versammling. It's the biggest event of the Versammling season. They're held in Leesport, and yours truly, will be the guest speaker that evening. I can't wait because that's home for me. I'm going home to the home crowd. And I can't wait to be able to speak to all of the people there that night after having a wonderful meal. So those tickets are still available. You can find more information online if you look up the Berks County Versammling. I'll also share all that information on my social media channel, of course. Follow along on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, of course. We're also on X. Just look for PA Dutch 101. I'm not on TikTok, and I'm not on Blue Sky. I'm sticking to those for YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And that's where I'm staying at this point, unless I get forced to do something else. But until next month, dear friends, follow along on the social media channels between now and then for tons of great Pennsylvania Dutch content. We're going to keep it coming. Please shoot me messages. Let me know what you guys think, how you're all doing, what you enjoy that we do, what you don't enjoy that we do, so that we can kind of tailor what we're making to what the people want, of course. It is always a pleasure for me to be able to join you every month. And I'm so humbled that you guys take time out of your busy lives to spend with me and all of us as a community of Pennsylvania Dutch people, whether we are Pennsylvania Dutch or we just really like the culture or the language and we're learning about it. I'm happy that we can all share this time together. Till next month, dear friends, stay healthy, stay warm. So bleib gesund, bleib warm, and hopefully the world doesn't blow up between now and then. Fingers crossed. I'll be with you again on the 19th of March, and in between, throughout the weeks, on the YouTube channel, Facebook page, Instagram, and Twitter. Till next month, dear friends, Mach's gut.
Mach's gut zu dir, mach's gut zu dir, mach's gut zu dir für now. Unsere Zeit ist all und so es ist, mach's gut für now. Hoff wieder mit dir zu sein, hoff du bringst zurück ein Freund. Mach's gut zu dir, mach's gut zu dir, mach's gut zu dir für now. Unsere Zeit ist all und so es ist, mach's gut für now. Hoff wieder mit dir zu sein, hoff du bringst zurück ein Freund. Und so mach's gut, lieber Freund, mach's gut.